Hello and welcome. The most important elections in Haiti's history is how they're being billed, but what will it take for the next leader to succeed where others have failed? Haitians voted in a crucial runoff on Sunday to choose a president who faces the task of rebuilding the earthquake-ravaged nation. The election pitting popular singer Michel Martelly against former First Lady and law professor Milande Maniga. International donors are refusing to unlock billions of dollars in aid until a new Haitian government takes office. And that's critical for the nearly 1 million people who are still living in the streets of the capital, Port-au-Prince. And complicating matters is the return of the exiled former left-wing president Jean-Bertrand Aristide, who, according to observers, could prove divisive to Haiti's political future. So today we ask, how will another election help Haiti walk the path of real recovery, and what qualities are needed in its new leader? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. You can send an SMS or an email, and we'll also take your phone calls on the show too. Joining us to discuss this is Haitian-American writer Edwidge Danticat, author of award-winning books which deal with history, exile and emigration. Her latest book is Haiti Noir, an anthology of crime fiction. She's joining us from Miami. And with us from Paris is award-winning Haitian film director Raoul Peck. His film Moloch Tropical recounts the delirious rants of a Haitian petty despot with a messiah complex who's about to fall from power. Mr. Peck served as Haitian Minister of Culture in 1996 but resigned in protest against President Aristide's administration. I welcome you both to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Peck, I'll start with you, sir. The second round of voting certainly seems to have been far more smooth than that first round. I wonder what helped things to go that much more smoothly this time around.
Well, I think the first round was such a horrendous round that both the UN, the government, and all the people involved have tried to make it better. I think the pressure and the tension were as well less than the first round with 19 candidates.
Now, that first round of voting still seemed to have, apart from all the violence, seemed to have only brought out around 23% at most of the people of Haiti. And I wonder, there seems to be no indication of how many came out this time, but is it a true representation of the will of the Haitian people?
Well, it's difficult to say. For one thing, I must admit that it's a great thing that the Haitian people went to the election. Whether it's a very low turnout, but the fact is, after all these problems, we did have people going to the vote, and that's a big improvement.
Well, Edwidge Danticat, if I could bring you in here and welcome you to the show and ask if you compare the styles of leadership or potential leadership of the two main candidates there, Milande Maniga and Michel Martelly, how do you rate the way the two are different, and what do you think they could bring that is new to Haiti? How could they change the situation in the country?
Well, I don't think I'll be the first person saying that, in that I think ideologically they're very similar. I mean, personality-wise, generation-wise, they're different. You know, it's as if you were pitting perhaps a Supreme Court justice against a rock star in an election. So that's the kind of personality thing you have. But I think in sort of in their past choices and sort of the ideas that they've brought out, they're very similar ideologically.
Now, in February, the U.S. Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, flew to Port-au-Prince to pressure President René Préval to move things forward politically, which meant that the Préval-backed candidate, Jude Celestin, was effectively dropped from the runoff vote. Now, how was this sort of international intervention regarded, Ms. Danticat?
Well, I think, you know, it depends on who you're talking to. On November 28th, when the election, the first round was taking place, you had these candidates who are in the runoff now join the others and protest, you know, calling for a cancellation of the election. They actually agreed to proceed when they found out that they were in the lead. So I think it's, you know, people tend to favor the outcome that that favors them. But ultimately, it's, you know, the future of the Haitian people at play.
Now, Raoul Peck, one of the issues that Haiti has faced is always the hand of the international community being so heavily involved in what happens there. What stops the next leader of Haiti essentially becoming a puppet of the international community?
Well, I think the Haitian people have a long history of refusing any puppet. Some might believe that the president or the Haitian people are puppets, but I think history have always showed them wrong. So it's going to be a big fight for anybody who becomes president in Haiti right now, because the situation is much more complicated than one might think.
I have to ask you, Mr. Peck, though, you know, one of the presidential hopefuls there waiting, Ms. Maniga, is the wife of the former president, Leslie Maniga, and I wonder to what degree the Haitian people, you know, like the idea of moving forward with someone who has a history in Haitian politics. I mean, are they looking for a fresh start? Is there any kind of complication with having someone who has some kind of past connection with the political world?
Well, I must say both candidates don't have any extraordinary credential. At least Ms. Maniga have great credential in terms of academic, but both don't have any prior experience with leading a country or leading any sort of institution. So it's whatever happened, it's going to be a big problem. And on the other hand, we shouldn't forget that there were as well parliamentary elections. So they will have, the Constitution give the Parliament a very strong position. So whether it's Maniga or Martelly, they will have to deal with the Parliament.
Let's get a caller on the line. We've got Howard on the phone from the United Kingdom. Howard, thanks for being with us. What would you like to ask?
Hello, yes. I would just like to say that I've been very disappointed that why hasn't there been a stronger voice on behalf of the legality of President Aristide's position, when you consider that Canada, United States, and France organized a coup d'etat, had him kidnapped, and essentially renditioned into exile. That means that his presidency and the legality of his presidency never actually ended. So everything that's taken place since then has actually been illegal.
Howard, interesting point. I'm going to put this to Raoul Peck because I know you have a history with Jean-Bertrand Aristide. How do you regard the comments made by our viewer Howard there, sir?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have that much time to respond to every point of this gentleman. It's a much more complicated. And first of all, I refuse the idea of kidnapping. Once you get into that polemic, I don't think a wise discussion is possible. We have President Aristide, former president, coming back to Haiti without any problem. He's there, he's in this country. I reject the exile on the first anyway, but he left on his own term because I think his life was indeed in danger. But to transform that into a kidnapping, it's a long story. Okay. So I think let's focus to what is happening today.
Okay, Edwidge Dantika, I want to bring you in. You wanted to comment on that.
Oh, I strongly disagree with my friend. I don't think President Aristide went willingly. And there have been some very strong voices, I think, that cumulated in his return. I mean, to see how much, you only have to look at the recent release of these WikiLeaks to see to what extent the United States and France and Canada went to keep him out of the hemisphere, going as much as penalizing the Dominican president for merely mentioning him in a speech. He was taken aside and taken to task. I mean, it's there's sort of what the gentleman is speaking to is this thing, sort of this dichotomy that's always when President Aristide is presented, in that he is presented as sort of unpopular. At the same time, there's this great fear of him. I agree that, and he said it in his speech, that we need some consensus building, and he seems to be advocating that in terms of these references that he made. But there were strong illegalities, not by just his account, but other accounts by how he was removed from office.
Let me get back to Raoul Peck with an email that we had about former President Aristide returning to Haiti last Friday. This came from Hamid Sidi Ali, one of our viewers, who wrote in saying, current problems might be exacerbated by Mr. Aristide's return and plunge Haiti into further violence and economic regression. There is a reason why he was bundled out of the country in the first place. Now, I know, as I mentioned, I think early on, you protested against his policies and you resigned as Minister of Culture, Mr. Peck. But what went through your mind when he landed back in Haiti last Friday?
I think I was very uneasy by this situation. And again, Edwidge, I must say, I'm not talking that he was not, he didn't have reason to leave the country. We shouldn't put aside the whole demonstration that existed in Haiti at the time. The only thing, I'm just pushing back this whole complot theory, as if America and France are always comploting. This is nothing new. This is part of our history. The thing I want to focus on is what we Haitians do. And Aristide did have people against him, and not just the bourgeoisie. A lot of people of the population, the poor population, were as well in the streets. So I don't think it's the place to have that discussion, but I just want to avoid to again put all the blames in some American complot. Or WikiLeaks, of course, have given us insight in the way American policies is dealt with countries like Haiti. But frankly, this is not my main concern.
And I wonder, Edwidge Danticat, we didn't see any particular disruption with him arriving into the country. I mean, are you surprised that really things remained fairly quiet with him still being there?
No, I'm not surprised, because I think people, there were people who are loyal to him, who still hold him in their hearts. But it has been 7 years, and there's so many struggles. And I think he is seen by those who love him and still were waiting for the return as perhaps a part of that solution, maybe not the entire solution now. And so that's why we had, over the weekend and the week that preceded his coming, you had a lot of the other candidates, you had both candidates moving towards that place where because he is part of the formula. I mean, I think there's going to have to be an acknowledgement that yes, everyone, even whoever the president will be, there will be an opposition. But we've had a similar parallel in the past, where in 2000, where people were not satisfied, where President Aristide was elected a second time, and then the parallel government was set up and all of that. Will we be seeing that, or will we be seeing something where there's more a sense of there are a million people still on the streets, we have a country to rebuild? How are we going to do it with all these people who have supporters, who have detractors, but we still have a country in peril?
Okay, I want to touch on other issues in just a moment. We had one more issue, one more email, I should say, regarding Jean-Bertrand Aristide, and I want to put this to you, Raoul Peck. It came from the Dominican Republic, from a Haitian who actually lives in the Dominican Republic now. Bouderi Elliot wrote in saying, Haiti's future leadership will probably be weak. The international community needs to help drive Haiti back on track and rebuild its public offices. Mr. Aristide is sure to play a big part in this and should work with the government. Now, just a thought, considering he's been very low-key at the moment, do you expect him to become much more vocal in the near future? Is he essentially waiting for the right moment, Mr. Peck?
Well, President Aristide have a long history of saying certain words and acting in the back otherwise. The situation is quite difficult for us Haitians right now. Because not only former President Aristide came back, but former President Jean-Claude Duvalier as well came back. And I don't want to mix them. They both are very different to me. I fought with one against the other one, so let's be clear about that. But still, I don't see yet the role they might want to play in Haiti. And we cannot just do as if nothing happened before. President Aristide have as well to respond to a certain numbers of acts that he did when he was president. And I remind again, he had to live under very heavy pressure from the Haitian people as well. It's not just an American issue, it's an issue with the Haitian. So there have been a commission, by the way, headed by the current Minister of Justice, Paul Denis. And I think there has not been any follow-up about this commission that have seen numbers of, I would say, illegal matters and illegal transactions and corruption. So I agree with Edwidge. We all need to be involved, but there needs to be some sort of justice as well. We cannot just erase and start from scratch.
Okay, now before I get onto the issue of reconstruction, Edwidge Danticat, let me ask you about your view when suddenly Baby Doc, as he was known, Jean-Claude Duvalier, turned up as well at the end of last year, or sorry, in February.
Well, I mean, I think he meant to surprise everyone, and everyone was shocked. I mean, there's a question of memory. There were so many. It's important, I think, not to mix the two. You had a 30-year reign of terror by a family of which Jean-Claude Duvalier was the heir to that. And he left, and he suddenly came back. And who knows what all the maneuvering was that. But Haiti at this moment is in this precarious position of having perhaps all of its, but one living heads of state there. And it's a very uncomfortable thing. And I think, yes, there has to be issues of justice. And if people have complaints, there have been a legal process for Duvalier where people, very brave people, have come forth and before a judge and spoken out. And we cannot move without justice. And I guess with whatever side. But we have to take into consideration the actual realities of things, not to, as you're saying, Raul, not to mix apple and oranges. This country is in a very, very difficult situation right now, and who knows where it will lead. But we cannot go back to certain things. We cannot go back to an army. We cannot go back to the type of repression that period represented in the country's history.
Now, Ms. Nondigat, I want to put to you an email that came in from Nigeria, if I may. This came in from Stephen, who says, there is a history of corruption in Haiti, and it is unlikely that we will see anything different from the next president. Funds received from aid will most likely go down the drain as usual. Of course, there's a lot of fund, billions of dollars worth, locked down basically until the new president is installed. And I wonder what's going to be there to ensure that that money doesn't just disappear, that the corruption doesn't take over, that it's used the right way.
Well, I mean, all that remains to be seen, but the sort of hidden hand in this, and it's not a matter of conspirators, but the commission that was set up after the earthquake, that's headed by President Clinton, will actually be the real financial power in terms of where that money is used. I mean, they put that in place. It's sort of as a sort of a buffer to whatever happens next. And so, if anything, I think that issue, there's all these issues with this commission, but that's what it's set up for, apparently.
Right. Raoul Peck, there are critics are pointing out that basically, with such a large number of people, maybe up to 1 million people basically still on the streets, living in tents in Port-au-Prince, more than a year after the earthquake, the election seemed almost like a pointless exercise. And I wonder to what degree the country has failed to prioritize its actions, or is it simply the fact that the funds have been locked down?
And again, this is a complex situation. I've been following and filming all the commission, interimaire commission meetings for the whole year. And I must say, this is much more complicated than one might think. First of all, the commission is just voting for projects. They don't have the money in their hands. The government doesn't have most of the money as well. Priorities have been set. Let me give you an example. There is priority to debris removal, because without debris removal, you cannot have rebuilding. But all the donors prefer to put money into hospital, into schools, but nobody wants to put debris removals. We need 160 million this year until October for debris removal. We only have 30. From certain donors. So the situation is very complex. It's not just a matter of corruption. Corruption is the big excuse for certain donors not to meet their commitment.
Okay, well, I've got a caller on the line from North Carolina in the USA. Tom, thanks for being with us. What would you like to add to the conversation?
Hello. I'd like to ask, how does the future of Haiti look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Jean-Bertrand, can you give us some prediction what you think the next, five or few years might look like for Haiti?
Well, it will have to depend on all the active actors right now. I mean, in the short term, you have the ballot counting and so forth, and then once the election is decided, will the different parties accept the outcome? You have that situation pending, but then you have to get the people out of the tents. You have nearly 1 million people in tents. You have to rebuild, there has to be some type of reconstruction, decentralization, health. We've had these very pressing issue with cholera, which apparently was a lot much worse than we found. The security issue with the UN mandate ending in 2012. There's a lot of issues facing the country in the next 5 years, and that's why it's so important to have, to have the right mindset, to have the right leadership. We don't know, in a way, what we're getting with this election is a kind of what in carnival term in Haiti we call a la maillotte. It's sort of a hidden thing. We haven't quite opened the sack because of the inexperience and sort of the past of both these candidates. But it's up to, that's the scary part of it, what the next 5 years will bring. And they're perhaps the most important 5 years since Haiti's beginning history.
Now, Raoul Peck, I wonder what exists right now when it comes down to actually having some kind of infrastructure for governance. Is there a process, or is there more of the sort of people on the street taking over? Is the issue of the gangs becoming a greater one, and gang rule becoming much greater than it should?
No, I don't think so. I think the police have made tremendous improvement. We shouldn't forget that the UN forces are still in Haiti. We are still occupied. So it's not the gangs has been always used for political reason, and we have a few months before the election and during the election we have seen a rise in kidnapping, and it went down again. So the gang is not the most important part, and we have to see what kind of structure we're going to be able to put in place to follow up on the reconstruction. A lot of projects have started. A lot of money have been already spent. We don't know yet how the next government will be able to challenge that, or to accept, or to move on. There are, like Edwidge said, there are a lot of questions, open questions. We don't know what the parliament is going to be. We don't know who the next prime minister will be, because as you know, it has to be a deal between the parliament and the president. The parliament has to agree for the next prime minister, and normally the prime minister comes from the party who have won the election, but both candidates don't really have parliamentaries. No. So we have some political hurdle in front of us, but don't forget, we have as well a very educated politically population. We have a civil society which is very involved, and unfortunately it's not the end of our fights, but we are still there.
Now, Edwidge Notika, a minute ago, and I want to ask you, as you raise your, as you add to the conversation here, let me just ask you that one thing. It was interesting that Raoul Peck raised the issue of corruption being used as an excuse, the gangs also, and I wonder to what degree, when you hear, the Western media describing Haiti as the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, the republic of NGOs, because of the number of NGOs operating there, how much it's being hurt by the negative stereotype that the real Haiti is not being revealed to the public. Just a quick thought.
Well, I'm not as worried about the stereotypes, because we've been struggling with those forever, as I am about the people of Haiti, because ultimately there's been so much marginalization, so much exclusion for the poor, the rural poor, and part of that stigmatization with the gang sort of politicizing, criminalizing people for being poor. It's something that, if that continues, we're not going to have any kind of progress.
Edwidge, so I'm afraid I have to stop you there, only because we're out of time, but because there's so much more to discuss, but we'll keep an eye on Haiti. Thank you, and Raoul, very much for joining us for the debate.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And thanks for being with us too. Remember, you can follow the show on Facebook and see what we're up to there. You can give us your feedback on the topics and post your questions and comments. On the next show, the politics of war. British, French and American military jets continue operations in Libya against a defiant Muammar Gaddafi. But what's the end game, and how long will it take to achieve? Do tune in for that. From me and the team, we'll see you next time.